Hello everyone, welcome to a new video where we are going to learn Java. Welcome to the fourth video of this playlist to learn Java for beginners. Today we will take a look a little bit deeper into the objects with their references, and meanwhile we'll take a look to the strings. With the primitive types video, I've introduced you to the characters, to the single characters, and now we'll take a look to the chained characters, to the strings. I didn't talk then about the strings because they are not primitives, they are objects. But they have a strange behavior. Sometimes they act as an object and sometimes they act as a primitive type. And the most common mistake with the string is to not take into account the object reference. Ready? Click on subscribe and here we go. In a previous video, I've just shown you the single characters with the single quote. But in fact, in the day-to-day developer's life, you want to use a single character, you want to ask the name of a user letter by letter, but the complete name at once. Let's go to the branch chapter 4 of the project if you want to follow the course. Here is a declaration of a string. With double quotes. What's the difference with the primitive types? The uppercase. Yes, the primitive types are written with an initial lowercase and the objects start with an uppercase. But what's the difference with an object? There is no new keyword and there is no parenthesis at the end. But can I instantiate a string like an object? Yes, with the new keyword, the name of the object and the parentheses. But it requires less typing this way, the first way. Let's take a look to the strings, to the objects. If I create a primitive type, to see some difference, and let's create another object. I will add a breakpoint and debug. If you take a look at the lower part, in the variables tab, you can see all the variables. The first string, the second string, the integer a, and the user u. You can see that all have an ID, except the integer, except the primitive types. And what is this ID for? This ID is used to know where in the JVM is located the string, the object. It's the same for all the objects. On the other side, the primitive types has directly the value. This ID is used to go to a specific place in the memory and see the details of the object, to know its value. It's like a picture. You can take multiple pictures of yourself, multiple selfies. All of those will be stored in different places on your computer with different names, but all refer to you. Maybe pictures from different angles or from different ways, but it's still you. You have to look in detail to each picture to know it represents the same object. It represents you. For the objects, it's the same. You have to go to the memory address to see the details and know if two objects are equals or not. So for that, you have the equals method. The equals method is like the equal symbol in the primitive types. All the objects have this equals method by default, which will check the inner fields and some other stuff. Let's see, if I put the same string in both and compare them in the two ways. The first is true because it checks the content, and the second is false because it checks the memory address. which are two objects in two different places. Confused? Let's continue adding more confusion. Let's take the sum of two primitives. To sum them, you have this plus symbol. You can do that with objects, because it will add the memory addresses. And it's forbidden in Java. So for operations between objects, you have the methods. And for the strings, you also have the plus symbol. Come on, it's an object. Don't add more complexity. Don't worry, you also have the concat method, which does the same. You see, both with the plus or with the concat, I have the same result. But be aware that the plus symbol doesn't work the same with strings like with numbers. If I have two numbers, this won't make the sum because they are strings. This will concat them. You have to convert those numbers into integers and then sum if you want the sum. Otherwise, it will put them together, will concat them. So, how do you feel? Do you already hate the object-oriented programming, or maybe just the strings? Let's recap the object references. When instantiating an object, what's stored in the variable is not the value, but a memory address. When comparing two objects, you need to call the equals method. The equal symbol will compare their memory addresses. And for the strings, you can instantiate it as a primitive type or as an object. You can concat it as a primitive type with the plus symbol or as an object with a method, with the concat method. And you can't compare two strings with the equal symbol. You must use the equals method. That's the biggest mistake of beginners. Let's put in practice a little bit all of this. Here you have some exercises about the object references. Read the comments and try to pass the test to green. To run them, go to the test folder, references, here you have the test, and you can run them. Right click, run JUnit test. Red bar, make them green. Okay, move now with the strings. Let's see more properties of the strings. What can I do with a string? A string is just a list of characters, chained characters. So I can search for a single character with the method indexOf. It will give me the position of this character, the second position. But if I specify a character that is not in this string, I will get -1 because it didn't found it. I can look for single characters or for another string. And when found, the method will return me the position of the first character found. And in the reverse way, I can ask the character present at a given position. At position 2. It shows me L with char at. But sometimes you will want to check the string length to see if it's too big or too small, like when validating a password. For that, you have the length method. (13) You can also transform the string, all the content, to lowercase or to uppercase. and the same to lowercase. This is very useful when comparing strings, where you don't care about the case. Nevertheless, you also have the equals ignore case with another string. This method will check the content, ignoring the case, ignoring if it's uppercase, lowercase, only the letters. It returns me true because it's the same content. And finally, how do I print a double quote in a string? Because if I add a double quote here, it will stop it. I have the backslash. You can see here the double quote is printed. But what if I want to print a backslash double quote? I have the double backslash. And what if I want to print a double backslash? You add more and more double backslashes, and so on. Enough for the strings? Let's finish it gracefully with some exercises. I hope you're really doing them, because there is no way to learn but practicing. So go download the project if it's not done yet and do the exercises. Below, check the comments, write what's asked and run them in the test folder, string test, right click, run as JUnit test. And when all is done, you can right click on the test folder to run them all at once. And to check the answers, you can go to the URL in the video's description, but try it before checking the answers. I know you can do it, or leave a message in the video. Hey man, slow down with the exercises. They are too complicated. But what we'll ask your boss will be a little bit harder, I think. If you stayed there, I think you enjoyed it. So click the like button, subscribe, and see you for the next video. Bye!